So Connie, Carrie, and Kathy and I arrived in the Philippines in Manila in early October, and it was raining. I mean, it was raining. We spent a couple of days in a missionary guest house, and then took our flight from Manila to the island of Tablas, where the city of Ojungan is located, and where the Bible College is. And we were greeted there at the airport by Gary and Janelle Loop and a couple of students. Gary and Janelle had been in Bible college with us. We graduated together, and they had been on the field, as it were, for 5 years and needed to get home. They were going home for a year, and that is why that opening was there for us to come and minister in English. And the Loops were happy that it was us because we knew each other, and so that was a good thing. And so we said goodbye to them, and we started our ministry. Now, there are a number of chores that are associated with living in the jungle in a small town without very many paved roads, with no municipal services such as running water and electricity. So the house was wired so they had a generator, and so we could get electricity in the house, and we had a well to where we could pump water up into the tank above the ground, and so we had water running, as it were, through our faucets and all that, but it was coming from the well water, and the electricity was coming from the generator that was on the property. So with that, then there were responsibilities for different kinds of fuel. Our refrigerator, such as it was, functioned off of kerosene. The little camper stove, literally a camper stove, 4 small burners and an oven that we cooked on in the kitchen, operated off of LPG. So, and then we had kerosene lamps. And so there was kerosene, LPG, diesel. It was kind of interesting. And, I'm a city boy. So here we are. And off we went. I got to say, it was a phenomenal experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything. We had a great time. The Filipino people are wonderful. We had one of the gals, Marissa, who's in ministry today with her husband and family, was living in the house with us, and one of our best students. And she just was a blessing to us and the girls, especially, I think. And we lived right there on the compound, as it were. There was the college classes were held in the church building, and which is right next door to where we lived, and a house that was that Jack built. Jack Ritchie had been the missionary there and built this house, and then there was a little place next to that where the pastor and his wife and children were staying, and so there we were on this sort of compound with the church building and the house of the Bible College, and then our home and the home of the pastor and his wife and family. So we started, and it was great. And now one of the things that Gary asked me to do while he was in the States is listen. He said, we have a woman in the church, and her husband is a doctor. He is not a believer, but they are willing. They're wanting to give some property to the church, to the school, so they can build a building. And they have this property in mind. She does. And so, would you possibly meet with them and see how far you can take that? And if we can get the property, get it started. We have a few $1,000s the church had given to get it started, and we could do that. But it just depends on what you're able to do or with what the Lord provides. And I said, well, okay, we can do that. And so off they went, and I began to develop curriculum for a couple of classes. I developed the curriculum for the Pentateuch and a couple other classes, and Connie was teaching, and I was teaching. And we began to work closely with our staff. We had a dean of students, we had an academic dean, and we had dormitory advisors, a young couple. So and one of our instructors, we included her in this staff meeting. And Connie made this cake. I think it's without eggs. It's called wacky cake, and or they say wacky cake. And we kind of had that almost every time that we met with coffee and that. When we had our staff meetings in our living room once a week. And so things were really progressing. The student population was growing. The school had only been going about 3.5 years when we got there, and it doubled in size because we were there for the second semester of the fourth year, and then the first semester of the fifth year, and we had twice as many students that coming in that year, and it was a remarkable time. So developing curriculum, eating breakfast bread called pan de sal, going through a super typhoon, some major corrective spiritual work that the Lord had to do in me, seeing people come to Christ. We spoke on the weekends. It was, and Catherine, our middle daughter, turning 4. Just a lot of stuff going on there, and we'll talk some more about that. But I would say that that year in the Philippines, 1988 to 78 to 79, was an incredible year that we still cherish.